Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Proud Arm Wrestling. In a recent interview in Neil Pickup's YouTube channel, Eddie Hall just shared some very interesting fact about his match with Brian Shaw, and also he shed some light into the strongman world, and he told us about who could be the potential strongmen who can do really well in the world of arm wrestling. So let's go and discuss them. Eddie said Brian's hand and wrist was stronger than him, but when the strap was applied, that was not a big of a factor, and he can hang on to the match with better wrist control. Like we saw, Eddie went to A side and was controlling very well when the strap was applied. When the straps were applied, it was Eddie's arm strength versus Brian's arm strength, and Eddie felt he was stronger in straps. When Brian realized this, Brian was avoiding to go with the straps in the match. Eddie said he can slip from Brian's grip anytime he wanted, but he didn't do that. Now, that was an interesting statement from Eddie. Actually, Eddie was loving to trash talk with Brian without the straps. That's why also he didn't go for it. And it was a bit of an ego also. Eddie said Brian's A side game is pretty strong, but his defensive or B side game is weak, so he needs to work on that. Neil asked what are the best carryovers from strongman to arm wrestling you feel. Eddie said he thinks majorly the wrist and grip strength and the back strength, but definitely also the body and mind connection, because that will help you to pick things quickly on the table. Now Neil shared some facts about how his practice sessions with Eddie Hall went. Eddie was very rigid in the start of the arm wrestling table times, but with the time goes and the practice goes, he becomes very fluid on the table, and we have to praise Eddie for this. He is catching up arm wrestling quicker than Brian Shaw with a short period of training time. Now Neil Pickup asked Eddie who are the potential strongmen who can do really well in arm wrestling. Eddie said apart from Brian Shaw, Eddie thinks Hafthor Bjornsson, ARMWRESTLING and Mark Felix can do really good in arm wrestling. Mark Felix got very big hands and definitely the one of the strongest grip in strongman, so that will really help him in arm wrestling. Eddie said ARMWRESTLING has those thick wrists and forearms and a little bit built like Levan, so he could be a very good contender. So these were Eddie's pick from the strongman world for arm wrestling. Now Neil asked Eddie what he thinks about Devon Larratt. Eddie said Devon has just massive contribution to the sport. He is a little maniac, but if it was not Devon, the arm wrestling viewership would have been like half of what it is right now. Eddie was asked to share some of his thoughts about Levan'S against Willie. Eddie said Levan is some kind of in Hulk territory. He is supernatural. Eddie is impressed by seeing Levan's wrist elbow thickness and said it's decades of training that made his tendon and ligaments like this. Levan and Eddie are quite similar at height, maybe Levan an inch or two taller and little bit more heavier than Eddie right now, like 10 to 12 kgs. Well, what we can hope is Eddie and Brian both stick to the arm wrestling, as it will be very beneficial for our sport and more eyes will be drawn to the sport. That's it guys, thanks for watching. Please give it a like, subscribe the channel, stay tuned and keep arm wrestling.